Welcome to Musings of a Super Doer with host Christina Kendall. Over the next hour, you will learn what keeps Christina and her guests busy with all their day-to-day life tasks. Now, here's Christina.
Hi there. Welcome to Musings of a Super Doer. I'm your host and resident super doer, Kris Kendall. I'm so glad you're joining us today. So in this episode, and really all episodes, I'm going to be sharing some random musings of what's going on in my world, and maybe you can relate to some of these things in your world too. So today we're going to talk first about friendships, how important they are, and how important it is to have them and to maintain them. I'm also going to share some musings, about face yoga. So kind of a random thing that I am playing around with these days. And then if there's some time, we might also discuss the very ridiculous reason why I don't plan to buy an electric car anytime soon. So who knows? So it could really go in any direction from here. So let's go ahead and get started. So first about friendships. Now, it might sound like kind of a silly topic to, bring up at this point in a show like this, but it's so important that people maintain friendships. And I know, it's one thing to say, yeah, I have lots of friends, or maybe in your life, you just have a couple close friends. But there are people that don't really have any friends, and not because they're bad people or because they, people don't like them or anything like that. It's often just because they've let those relationships die, just kind of dwindle away. You just sort of lose touch, and then it's, time goes by, and then you sort of forget to get in touch, and then it feels like it's been too long since you've been in touch. So, I'd just like to bring this up to people who maybe have not been nurturing their relationships with friends in the way that is healthy, and that I hope that they will, pursue in the future. So I'll start off with a story about a company that I worked at. So this was around 10 years ago. And this company is a big company, worldwide. And they did these annual employee engagement surveys. So they send an email to everybody in the company that says, how do you like your job? Are you happy to be here? Do you feel supported? Do you feel like you have the tools that you need? Just sort of random questions. There's usually 15 or 20 questions. And one of those questions was, do you have a best friend at work? Okay. And I said, yes, I do have. Pretty much at most jobs, I have a best friend at work. Now, I'll be honest, in my current job, because I'm mostly remote, I don't have any actual close friends there. It's kind of a bummer. Maybe that's why I don't like to go in very often. And at my previous job, pre-COVID, and when I was going into work on a pretty regular basis, I did have, I kind of found a friend pretty quickly, and stayed pretty close to one or two people throughout my career there. And then at some point when that relationship sort of ended, things kind of went downhill for me at that company. And not that it's directly related to that, but I think that this question in an employee engagement survey actually has merit. And so we all answered this question. And then, a month or two later, the CEO or somebody comes back and says, okay, here are the results. We're doing great in this area. We're doing pretty good in this area. We have room for improvement in this area, whatever. And people were very vocal about their feelings about this best friend question, because it really bothered some people, and they didn't, they thought it was stupid. Why would you ask that? We're here to work, not to be friends, whatever. But it made total sense to me, because when I have a friend at work, I like going to work. I like being there. It's, sometimes you just need that person to pull to the side to say hey, I'm not understanding this, or hey, can you believe that they just did this, or hey, what do you think about this, or hey, let's work on this together. Whatever it is. Now, at that particular company, I had two very close friends who were in the same job essentially that I was in, but in different groups, and they both kind of hired me to, fill in for another department. And so we could really relate to what we were doing every day. We're all having essentially the same kind of experiences. We all had youngish families. We all had, a lot that made sense, and we related to each other. And so I really, that I count that as one of my favorite jobs. And I think that that's because of not only the projects I was working on and the actual, like, salary or benefits or any of that kind of stuff, but I think it was truly because of those friendships that I had. And so I think it's really important for adults, when you're a kid, it's easy to have friendships, right? You go to school, you play, through college, etc. You just are surrounded by people. But as an adult, it's a lot harder to just naturally and organically develop relationships. And then it takes some effort to nurture them. If you're going into an office, or if you have an organization that you have meetings, regular meetings or something like that for, then it's a little bit easier to at least have those people in your life on a regular basis, even if you're not meeting with them outside of working hours. You're not really going to dinner with them or hanging out on the weekends or whatever. But if you don't have that kind of environment where you're in a group situation on a regular basis with people you can just chit chat with, it really, I think it takes a pretty significant toll on your well-being, your not just your mental health, but that emotional need to just connect with other people. When I'm doing my coaching, I ask people, who are your closest friends? Like, if you had to write down 2 or 3 or however many, who are your best friends? And for most people, they can quickly jot down a couple names, right? You just, okay, well, that's so and so, so and so, and so and so, and maybe it's a really long list of many close friends, or maybe there's just 1 or 2. And then when I ask, when was the last time you talked to the first person that you wrote down? Sometimes it's today or this week or pretty recent, but literally there are people who will look at that list, and their very top friend they haven't talked to in 3 years. It happens. It's really as time goes by, and as we let our day-to-day life keep us busy and keep us distracted from those kind of secondary or tertiary relationships, it's easy to just sort of forget about the people that we like to talk to, that we laugh with, that we have fun with. And so um, if in this exercise, if you can think of a couple people as who are your best friends and you haven't talked to them in a while, I hope you'll consider reaching out and making a phone call, sending a quick text. It doesn't have to be much. I think one of the things that I've always been bad about is I hate that awkward feeling. I hate being awkward. And so when I am, like, maybe there's a friend that I haven't talked to in years and I want to reach out to them, but it feels awkward to just send a text and say, like, hey, how's it going? But that's what you need to do. I need to get over it. And other people need to get over that, like, initial, it will be weird if I haven't talked to them in a while, or the last time we talked 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 12 years ago, however long it's been, we kind of left on a weird note, or maybe we had a falling out of some kind. It's very possible that they miss you as much as you miss them. And maybe they don't even, you know, acknowledge, or maybe you won't acknowledge that you miss that relationship, but just a quick check-in to let somebody know that you're open to kind of rekindling that friendship. And it is enough to, maybe make something happen. And you would be surprised that if you're open to it and they're open to it, it might not be more than a quick, joke being shared between you guys every couple days or once a week. Hey, how's it going? How was your week? Are you watching this show? I heard this song on the radio and thought of that time we did this funny thing together, or whatever. Those kind of things can really make a difference in a person's overall level of life satisfaction and happiness. And so if you're at a place in your life where you're not happy, like if I were to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? If your answer isn't 8 or 9, then you need to make some changes, right? I mean, living life without just surviving or just doing the minimum to stay content is not the life that any of us want to lead, right? So if making a few more connections with people, and these don't even have to be like best friends for life. This could be your neighbor. This could be the person at the grocery store you go to all the time. Maybe it's just spending an extra couple minutes chatting with them when they're not busy, or asking a coworker who maybe you don't really have a strong relationship with, but you think maybe has some things in common with you. They have kids the same age as you. They drive the same kind of car that you drive. They like, you heard them mention that they like the same kind of TV shows or something. Maybe just asking them if they want to have coffee or have lunch together. It doesn't have to be, anything more than just finding people that you can spend time with or talk to on a regular basis. That kind of connection is something that so many people go without, and it makes me sad when I hear about it. I mean, I am very blessed to have lots of really close friends, and I have several different friend groups. I have lots of people that I spend time with. We take girls trips and we do fun things together, and we go to dinner and stuff. Not all of them are people that I just call on a Tuesday afternoon to chit chat. Some of them I do, but most of them are not. We're sort of like, we plan a thing every month or every couple months, and we do that thing, and then we may not talk for a year until we do something similar again. And that's okay. I know that if I do need to talk to them, I can, and they know, I hope, that if they want to reach out to me, they can. But it doesn't have to be, not every relationship, every friendship has to be, uh, you know, every single day kind of a check-in. You can have really close, really tight relationships with people that you only talk to every year or every couple, months or whatever it is. But in addition to that, you do need to have some people that are your daily people, right? Or your regular people. Maybe that's the delivery person that comes by twice a week. They're in a hurry, so it's not like you're going to build a strong relationship with them, but taking 30 seconds to chit chat, if they're willing, even that is something that will help you feel like you're connecting to people and that you're not just isolated and alone. After COVID, I know so many people, it kind of cut out the in-person relationships, going to homeowner association meetings or going to club gatherings that they, did on a regular basis. They cut those out and just started doing them via Zoom. And that's great. That was super convenient. You don't have to get dressed. You can be in your pajamas. You can be eating dinner during the meeting, whatever. But now that more and more of these activities are back in person, if there's a Zoom option, people are taking them. That's fine. But, they're missing out on that human connection and those like real friendships. It is different when you're in person with with somebody else, and you can chit chat and you can just kind of riff on what is going on in the room and the environment, whatever's happening, versus a planned agenda and only responding when you're asked a question and being on mute the rest of the time and having your camera off and just being sort of a disembodied voice in the background. So I hope that you reach out to the people that you care about, the people on your list that you would call your closest friends. Make an effort, give them a call, send a quick text, sit down and write a letter, go buy a greeting card to just say, hey, thinking of you, hope everything's well. It doesn't have to be more than that, but nurturing those relationships that are important to you matter. And then outside of those the kind of long distance or annual relationships, make an effort to find somebody that's kind of in your day-to-day life that you can hang out with. Is there a neighbor that goes walking every day with their dog, or maybe just for some exercise, that you see every morning at 10 a.m. or every evening at 7 p.m.? Maybe put on your shoes and meet them out there one day and ask if they'd mind some company, and just get out there and start to connect with people again if that hasn't been happening for you. And it's so important that in my coaching practice, I have actually created a program called the Best Friend Project. Yeah, BFF experience, the BFF experience. That's what it's called. And I actually offer this as a service where people can hire me to be their best friend. It's a little bit silly, but you would be surprised at how desperate some people are for friendship. And, you might be that person that they're hoping to connect with. And so that's another thing to keep in mind. If you have a coworker or somebody who's asked you to have lunch or coffee a couple times, instead of saying no or finding excuses why it's never a good time, maybe just say yes. Maybe just sit down with somebody for 20 minutes and chit chat and learn about them and open up to the possibility of expanding your friend network, because it's true that we really can't have too many friends. They don't all have to be the same level of depth and connection. They don't all have to know your deepest, darkest secrets or every birth date of every person in your family. But it is important to be close to people and to have those in your life that you can just hang out with anytime, in addition to those special occasion friends that you do the trip to Disneyland with, or whatever it is that you do. Okay, so that's my my spiel on friendship. So I hope that that's something that you have a plethora of in your life. But if you need more advice on how to build some of those friendships, or you need just to be my friend, send an email to Kris at musingsofaSuperDoer.com and I will get you that information. Okay, so we are going to take a quick break. Take a minute to grab a snack, check your stocks, whatever you need to do. And when we get back, we'll be talking about face yoga.
You are clear.
Welcome back to Musings of a Super Doer with your host, Christina Kendall. Have a question for Christina or her guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5788. That's 866-472-5788. Now, back to the show.
Hey friends, if you're just joining us, I'm Kris Kendall, host of Musings of a Super Doer. Before the break, we were talking about friendship and the importance of having and keeping your friends. But now I want to share some musings about face yoga. Now, you may or may not have ever heard of this. I had not heard of it until it was a few years ago that I was watching an episode of Shark Tank, one of my favorite shows to learn about really random things. And there was a woman who came on and she had a face yoga business, and she was explaining how you can do these exercises in your face that really change the shape of your face. So I immediately went to her website and I bought her program and I started doing it, and I was shocked at how you can actually work the muscles in your face. It's such a the face, if you've never done any kind of facial exercises, you probably have pretty soft muscles, because it's not something that I don't think that consciously we generally will do any of these kind of things. But after you've been exercising or doing this face yoga, you can literally isolate like these different muscles in your face, and you can feel them moving independently. It's so crazy. So one of the ways that I was gonna like do some research and get like actual numbers and figure out like how many faces there are or how many muscles there are in your face, and get some sciencey kind of information, but I didn't do any of that. So just trust me, there's a lot of muscles in your face and they affect the way you look. The obvious thing we can imagine is when you look at an elderly person and their face is sagging. Well, some of that is skin, obviously, but a lot of it is just the muscles are, gravity is pulling them down. And so those muscles are pulling all the skin with it. And so that's why they're so saggy and hangy. So one of the things that whenever I'm telling people about face yoga, I have them do this experiment where you put the palm of your hand flat on your forehead, like just above your eyebrows, and you just kind of gently rest it there. And then you look up, just look up at the ceiling without moving your head, just your eyeballs up. Do you feel those, does any of the skin under your hand move? Because for most people, when you look up, your face, that skin will kind of wrinkle. And if you have been working out these muscles, when I do it now, when I look up, there's no wrinkles on my forehead because I've isolated those muscles away from whatever the looking up eyeball muscles are. So my forehead doesn't wrinkle when I look up. Whereas for most people, the first time you do it, and definitely the first time I did it, I literally couldn't look up without wrinkling my forehead. And it took a lot of these like random exercises and sort of training things in order to be able to look up and look to the like upper left and upper right without moving all of my forehead muscles. And of course, I don't want wrinkles in my forehead. So it's important to figure out how to look places without, creating more wrinkles. So that's one of the things that is easy to test out. No, another fun exercise. So for me, when I started doing this face yoga, my goal was to improve the look around my eyes, the little wrinkles on the outside of my eyes, the 11 lines, but just above my nose and between my eyebrows. And then most importantly, my jowls. So around my mouth over and down was really saggy. And it felt like when I was looking in the mirror, I would see my mom or my grandma, and they're obviously older than me. And so I shouldn't be, seeing somebody 20 or 30 years older than me when I look in a mirror. Right. So it was really important for me to figure out how to improve the muscles around that, chin, lower cheek area. And one of the exercises that we do is it's kind of fun and it's easy for me to describe audibly, I guess, versus having to show you, is if you blow up you fill up your cheeks with air like a puffer fish. Okay. So you take a deep breath and you hold that air in your cheeks. Now, at first you might just be lax, right? You just kind of hold it there, but tighten your muscles, like hold it sort of tight, like in a tense, make your cheeks kind of tense when you're holding it there. And then push all the air into one side of your cheek and hold it there again, sort of tight. So just by tightening that, you're working that muscle, just like if you were to be lifting weights or doing squats or something, you're working that muscle. And then push the air above, like underneath your nose across to the other cheek essentially, but just go above your lip and then hold it in your other cheek for, as long as you can, 10 seconds or whatever. And then move it, back to that first cheek by pushing it under your lower lip. And so you just kind of do this exercise back and forth. You'll need to take breaths, obviously, because you can't really hold air in your cheeks and breathe at the same time. At least I can't. Maybe with more practice I could, but take a big breath, fill up one cheek, make your cheek muscle kind of tense, tighten it up, and then push slowly and like with purpose, with intention, push that air over your lip, underneath your nose, across your face, into the other cheek, hold it there for 5 or 10 seconds, and then push it back below your lower lip, and then slowly let it out. Breathe it out, take a couple breaths, and then do it again. And just do this back and forth a few times. It really makes a big difference in how your these lines. So for me, right, where like if I smile, the edges of my lips go down into these like old lady lines. I don't know what they're called. Something maxillofacial, or I don't know, some sort of old lady jowl lines. I don't know. Um, and so I really, they drive me crazy. Like all I see are shadows and these lines every time I look in the mirror. So doing this exercise has really improved the muscle tightness around my cheeks, my lower cheeks. And so they sag less. I mean, I've only been doing this recently for the past a month or so. I started it yeah, probably a little over a month ago. Um, and then prior to that, I did it a couple years ago. But every time, like the very first time I started doing it, I took a picture, and then I did all these exercises, and I took another picture. And every time I sit down for 10 minutes and I do my whole process of all the different exercises, I take another picture and I compare them, and I look at my today picture and the picture from a month ago. And there is a pretty significant difference. You can really see, like, I started out looking very saggy, and now, it's changed in a lot of ways. I can't exactly like point out what's changed, but it has changed. Like, I just know that one's better than the other, even though it's hard to like pinpoint, well, this is different and this is different. It's like there's just like the bad one and the good one. So definitely recommend trying that. One of the other fun exercises that I do with the face yoga is basically you pinch your eyebrow. So use one hand and you hold just above your nose, like let's say over your right eye, and you just pinch your eyebrow, and then you scoot along your face and like pinch, hold, pinch, hold, pinch, hold, and then just kind of scoot all along your eyebrow until you get to the end, and do it over and over again. Do it maybe like 5 times, and then switch and do the other eyebrow, just with your thumb and forefinger, pinch along your eyebrow across your face a couple times. And that helps to, again, isolate those muscles so that I really don't know the science behind it. If you do any research on face yoga, other people will explain how this works and how training those muscles to be in a certain spot and to move in a certain way when you want them to move in a certain way. How it all works, I don't know how it works, but I know that it does work, because when I take a before and when I take an after picture, there is a difference. And it's not like regular yoga that you do with your body on a mat, where you're downward dog and, doing all that stuff. I mean, I guess it probably is in some sense the same thing, because you're stretching and isolating certain muscles without like sweating. It's a slow, very specific movement that makes one or maybe a few muscles contract and hold in a certain way. But it's something that you can do very privately. I do it in the car. I do it at my desk. I do it while I'm watching TV, where I just will like fill up my cheeks with air and push them from one side to the other side. Or I will pinch my lips and kind of pull them forward a little bit. And that kind of plumps them up, I guess. It makes them fuller. Um, and there's, if you want to improve like your cheek line, or for many people, the jawline and the under neck area is, you start to get that double chin, a little bit saggy. So moving the fluid and the buildup, and I don't know, whatever the stuff is that makes your neck saggy and look older than maybe you feel on the inside. Doing 5 or 10 minutes of face yoga every day can take 20 years off of your appearance. No surgery, no special vitamins, nothing at all. There's a couple different programs that I've used. One is called Face Yoga Method, and that's the first one that I did a couple years ago. I liked it a lot, but their system was a web-based like video system, but you had to like log into their site and watch these videos. It was a little bit cumbersome. It was sort of set up as like a course. It worked, it was fine, but it wasn't great. And just a month or two ago, I found Lovely. It's spelled Luvly. And their ads are all over the place. They have this great app, and I paid for, I think, 6 months of this like customized video service or something like that. I don't know exactly what that means because I'm just finishing up the first month, but basically every day I just open up the app and it shows me a new video. They're usually between 8 and 12 minutes, somewhere around there. And so I just do the exercises, I follow what the lady's doing and I do what she does. And it's a pretty major difference is happening with just a few minutes of effort every day. So check it out if that's something that, if you're not happy with the way, your face is looking as you age, or even if you're young. I mean, if you just aren't happy with your profile or the shape, there are some things that you might be able to do without any sort of medical intervention to improve it. So I highly recommend to everybody trying out a little bit of face yoga. Okay, so we will go ahead and take another short break. When we get back, I will share with you my very ridiculous and completely unfounded reason for not wanting an electric vehicle.
Welcome back to Musings of a Super Doer with your host, Christina Kendall. Have a question for Christina or her guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5788. That's 866-472-5788. Now, back to the show.
Hey there, we're back. For those of you just joining, you missed some fascinating conversations about friendship and making and maintaining friendships, and also about face yoga, of all random things. Okay, so now there's a few more things I just want to talk about before we wrap up today. Okay, so everybody is talking about electric cars. Everybody wants them. They're the wave of the future. I believe that that's true. I do believe that that's true. And I think it's good. We're building a house. We're going to have solar at that house. I love the idea of being able to just charge, everything with solar versus having to buy gas, especially with how expensive gas is. I drive, my car is actually a diesel, and the gas is so ridiculously expensive. So yeah, in theory, love the idea of electric vehicles, but I have this like ridiculous idea, and I know it's not true. I have talked to sciencey people. I have talked to people within the automotive industry. I've talked to lots of electrical engineers who know how this stuff works, but I still don't believe them when they say it's not true. But I have this fear of being surrounded by those big battery packs for hours at a time. I just feel like it can't be healthy to be sitting on giant battery packs, like the electromagnetic waves or some sort of energy that causes cancer. I don't know. I've been told that this is not true, that there's no way it would work that way. I have zero to worry about, but I just can't believe them. So Teslas have now been like widely on the market for maybe 8 years, I guess, probably coming up, getting close to 10 years where they're, really widely available and everybody could get one who wanted one, kind of a thing. So I think it's when we get to like that 10 or 15 year mark, when there's not this like huge rush of like thigh cancers or bottom of your foot cancers or weird, lower back cancers or something like that, that might have come from being in an electric vehicle for 4 hours a day or every single day for 10 years. If that happens, then I will probably start to feel a little bit better about it. And maybe I will get one for myself. There's a super cute Volvo SUV that's a electric vehicle, and I really do love Volvos. I had one years ago, and I would definitely get another one. I just, I still don't trust them to not give me cancer, so I've been putting it off, and I think I would get one maybe as like an extra vehicle or something like that, maybe as a not a daily driver, but as something that we could keep charged and use for quick errands now and then. I don't know what it'll take for me to feel like they're super safe in the same way that my gas vehicles probably cause a different kind of cancer. I'm sure their emissions and whatever whatever is in those chemicals has a different response, but people drive them for 50 or 60 years without getting cancer. So I know that those are relatively safe. The other issue that I have with electric vehicles is that I feel like it could be hacked, right? And I could be driving down the street and somebody could, try to mess with me and like run me off a road or take control of the vehicle and drive me off a cliff or something like that. I'm not ready to give up that kind of control. I am a bit of a control freak, especially when I'm driving. And the idea of it being, the vehicle that I'm commanding or driving, whatever, could like take control, or somebody else could take control of it, and I would not be able to do anything to stop that. I'm just not there yet. I would need some sort of a like switch where I could turn to manual. I guess maybe a hybrid is possible, but I need some kind of switch where I can like turn off all electronics and still make it work, or at least stop it from driving off the cliff. So anyways, I know that's a little bit silly, but it's something that haunts me when I think about buying an electric vehicle. So not quite ready for that yet, but maybe someday, hopefully someday, because I know that whether I like it or not, or whether I'm ready or not, I'm going to have to, in the next 10 or 15 years, it's not really going to be an option to buy a new gas car or whatever. So we'll see. But that is my random musing on that. Okay, so there's a few other things I wanted to talk about while I've got you. So I have been reading this book. Now, when I say reading, what I mean is listening to the audiobook, because I can't read self-help kind of books at all. I can only listen to them. And because usually I do my actual reading at night in bed, and I fall asleep reading. And so if I were trying to read like about organizing or investing, I would just fall asleep instantly. I'd never get through it. So I was listening to the audiobook recently, of a book called We Should All Be Millionaires, A Woman's Guide to Earning More, Building Wealth, and Gaining Economic Power. And it's written by Rachel Rogers. Now, this book has changed my life. Like in just a few days, I think I started listening to it maybe a week and a half ago. And I was on my way to the airport to pick up a friend. And so it was a short drive, maybe 40 minutes or an hour that I was sitting in the car. And just in that short amount of time, I was already like making changes in my mind of the things that I needed to change. This book is really all about making smart decisions. She calls them $1 million decisions versus broke-ass decisions. And we need to be making $1 million decisions in our life and stop making broke-ass decisions. And so she lists a lot of them, like, are you doing this or that, this or that, this or that? And for the most part, I am very happy to say that I make a lot of $1 million decisions. That's good. But honestly, I do make some broke-ass decisions. And so hearing her lay them out and laying out her strategies, and just that, confirmation that we can all women should be millionaires. Um, we need to be, building wealth for our families, for our children, teaching our children how to build wealth, creating enough money that we can live the way we want to live. It's not about like pinching pennies or cutting out Starbucks every day. It's about making more money so you can buy a Starbucks if you want, right? And it's not about charging the lowest price for your service, your business, whatever you do, because you want to help people. It's about charging a lot of money, making a ton of money, and then donating it to help people, and actually, having enough to make a significant change in someone else's life, whether that's your family, a member, your mom, your neighbor, people in your community, whatever it is. So it's a really very powerful book that I love. I will probably re-listen to it again very soon. And I definitely recommend every woman should listen to this, and men would probably enjoy it too. I think that it's a good overall message, but it's really fun. She's got a great personality, and she's very like personable and easy to relate to, even if you haven't been in her situations. Everything she says is really easy to relate to. So We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. Definitely check that out. The other book, so when I finished that a couple days ago, I started listening to a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Getting Things Done. Now it's Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. So far, it's not that stress-free. I think I'm only on chapter 2 or 3, and it's a little bit confusing. And maybe this is the kind of thing that doesn't work as well in an audiobook when I'm driving and eating French fries and, looking at leaves falling or something like that, because I haven't really got sucked into it yet, but I really want to, because when I was looking at planners, I do these like electronic planners. I have a Remarkable electronic notebook book thingy, and I buy these planners for the year that help me organize, what I'm doing every day, my meetings, notes, stuff like that. So there were a lot of people that sell organizers around getting things done. It's like this whole method of organizing your life and about productivity and stuff. So I really have been excited to get through this book. It sounds like if I can figure out how to do it, it will be very great in, for helping me stay productive, for eliminating the things that waste time in my life, and for really focusing on the things that are important and that matter. But I don't know. This is one that it's going to take me a little bit of time to really deep dive into and to understand, and hopefully it sinks in, and hopefully I become super productive and can get even more things done and do even more things in my life. But I don't know yet. The jury's still out on that. So I'll keep you posted on how this goes. But I hope that it's a life changer for me as well. Okay, so one other thing, this chat GBT, whatever AI tool, okay, so I'm a writer, you know that. Within the past couple of years, more and more authors have been talking about how they have written entire books using these AI generators. Now, a few times I have looked into them and I've checked out, like I've tried to use it. Honestly, I don't understand it. So you can like ask a question, or you can ask it to do something and it'll write a couple sentences or something. Like, so far, I don't know, maybe there's a way to do this. I don't know what it is, but basically my experience with it is that I can say like, start writing a sentence or maybe a couple sentences, and then ask it to fill in the next two sentences. But it takes an enormous amount of like computing power to write stuff with AI. So it has to like pull all this energy. I guess it's probably very bad for the environment to use AI. So it's like all this computing power to come up with like the next couple of sentences. I used this one tool where it allowed like 1,500 words per month. Like, I could write 1,500 words in like 12 minutes if I knew what I was talking about. So for it to provide with my, $20 a month membership or something like that, 1,500 words a month was pretty useless. So I don't really understand how people are using it to write entire books. They must have different tools than the one I was looking at, but it's very interesting. There's people on both sides of the fence. Some are up in arms about, taking away the craft from writers who actually spend time and whatever to come up with every word and to craft it into this art, this perfect novel or something like that. I'm not so worried about that. There are other people who will just use it to like plagiarize works of art or other books or essays, probably for college or something like that. I mean, there's going to be both extremes, but it's an interesting technology. I don't know too much about it yet. I haven't quite figured out how to use it. I will continue to play around with it, but we'll see. I don't know if it's going to be something that really makes its way into my daily productivity plan. Okay. So that is just about all that I have for you. I'm so glad that you were able to hang out with me today. It's been really fun to just have a platform to ramble and share all my thoughts about the stupid things that I do on a daily basis and the things that I think of. So I am so excited to share more with you next time. Until then, I hope I've inspired you to be, or more likely frightened you away from being, a super doer. So goodbye from your host and resident super doer, Kris Kendall. And now you should go do something.
Thanks for tuning into Musings of a Super Doer with Christina Kendall. We hope you've enjoyed today's show and look forward to having you back next week. Until then, have a beautiful week.